Sword and Shield sealed booster boxes. What's the saying? Haters gonna hate, naysayers gonna nay? I don't know. Whatever it might be, Sword and Shield booster boxes are on an absolute heater. They are just going to the absolute moon. And look, I think I'm not going to sit here and say, I told you so. Look, I can't tell the future. Like, I really can't. When I was talking about Sword and Shield at the start of the year, when I was talking about Sword and Shield 12 months ago, when I was talking about Sword and Shield 18 months ago, when I was talking about Sword and Shield 2 years ago when I started this channel, or a bit over 2 years ago when I started this channel, I couldn't tell the future. I wasn't saying this 100% is going to happen. I was making predictions, and they were educated predictions, but I actually didn't think some of the booster boxes would rise so quickly. But there's two really important pieces of information that we can take out of this. So today's video, I'm going to share with you those two important pieces of information that we can take from Sword and Shield, and I suppose the rise that it's had. And we're also going to have a look at what's just been happening in the last sort of month when it comes to Sword and Shield booster boxes. And we're going to start off with none other than a set that I've been throwing some serious heat at for a long time, and heat in a positive way, saying this set is just going to continue to rise. And if you've been listening to my videos lately, my last commentary is I wouldn't be surprised if this set verges on as a sealed booster box product prices of Evolving Skies in the future. And people will go, nah, you're completely wrong. And I get it. Look, Evolving Skies is a way better set than Fusion Strike. So that's what we're going to start looking at, which is Fusion Strike. So we're going to start looking at Fusion Strike. And I get it. People will say, well, there's no way that's ever going to be the same booster box price as Evolving Skies. And it's probably not. But, and I'm not saying in 12 months' time, I'm not saying in 6 months' time, I'm not talking 2 years' time. But I'm thinking when these sets are encapsulated in history, in my opinion, they'll be the two most remembered sets from Sword and Shield era. And look, maybe one day Evolving Skies will be like an $8,000 booster box, and Fusion Strike will be a $6,000 booster box. I don't know. But I'm saying that's my latest commentary. At some stage, Fusion Strike is going to get very, very expensive and verge on Evolving Skies territory. But anyway, let's look at Fusion Strike. So this is up to what's nearly $700 a booster box. In the past month alone, it's been at 45%. It's seen 45% growth. And if we have a look at this straight off TCG Player, what you'll see is some commentary that I've made for a lot of times. For a long time, a lot of the time, which is booster boxes don't just rapidly rise in price. They're not just on a trajectory straight up. We see, and look, I know I might sound like a broken record on this, but it's really, really important information, because if you actually look at past performance, look, it's not going to say exactly this is what's going to happen in the future, but there's a strong correlation over time just how well these sets have been performing. And if you look at booster boxes, typically they follow the trend where they come out of the gate, and look, maybe there's some pre-order hype and they come out pretty strong, and then maybe it drops off a little bit, and then maybe there's a reprint and it drops prices even lower, and maybe it stays there for a little while, and then all of a sudden when it's getting close to being out of rotation, or the reprint supply's eaten up, we start seeing an uptick in price. Maybe it stabilizes thereafter for a further 6 months or so, and then it fully goes out of rotation, and people realize, hold on, like, this set's going to be hard to get now. And then all of a sudden we see another uptick in price over the coming months, and then it might sit for 6 to 12 months and we see another uptick in price. And that's what we saw around December when it comes to Sword and Shield booster boxes. We saw that uptick in price. And I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a slight retraction on these booster boxes, or definitely see them stabilize for a period of time, maybe 3 to 6 months or so. And then as they get rarer and rarer and supply dwindles and dwindles, we're probably going to see another uptick in price, which is what we're seeing at the moment. Now, 45% in the past month. Is it finished? Probably. Will it sit dormant for another 3 to 6 months around that price point? Probably. Will it see maybe a small reduction or retraction of 5 to 10%? There's every chance it will. And then you know what? In another 6 to 12 months or another 3 to 6 months, we'll probably see another uptick in price with Fusion Strike. And before we know it, it's probably going to be an $800 booster box or a $1,000 booster box. And if we look at the latest or the listings on TCG Player, there's little to none. Like, it's hard to find. The ones that are $600 are 36 loose packs, like pulled from various tins. We're not seeing just a sealed booster box for $600. They just don't exist. I think I was checking eBay Australia for us Australians, and the cheapest one I could find was like $1,100. Buy it now. Like, it's crazy how quickly, which is probably $750 US. It's crazy how quickly Fusion Strike has just risen in price. And look, Rightly so. And I said, look, before we jump into the second one I wanted to look at, I said there's two important pieces of information we can take from this massive rise in Sword and Shield. And I think one of them is that just because a set wasn't super popular when it came out, doesn't mean it's not going to perform really well in the future. And look, Fusion Strike's probably the best example of that. It wasn't like this set come out and everyone said, oh, it's trash. This set come out and it was surrounded by such hyped sets and brilliant sets. Brilliant in the forms of Brilliant Stars, brilliant in the forms of mostly Evolving Skies, surrounded by 25th anniversary hype, and so much demand going towards those sets that Fusion Strike was sort of forgotten about a little bit. It wasn't that it was a bad set. People still appreciate it. People still appreciate the fact we had a colourful booster box. They appreciated the fact we had Mew on the booster box. They appreciated the fact that we had a beautiful Gengar chase card, an Espeon chase card. Everyone loved the Celebi artwork. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say a bad word about that Celebi alt art. That is a beautiful card, and there's no doubting that. The Mews, there was a little bit, the Mew VMAX was a bit, and to be honest, I agree. They should have done more with that Mew VMAX alt art. If that Mew VMAX alt art was a better looking card, I wouldn't be surprised if Fusion Strike was already at the price that Evolving Skies is at, or at least very close to nipping at its heels already. That's almost a letdown. It just feels like almost a regular VMAX card, doesn't it? Not the old art. They could have done a lot more with that Mew. Look at Bubble Mew from Pate and Fates. Even something like that $300 card or whatever it's up to now. Imagine Mew VMAX being a $300 raw card from Fusion Strike. That booster box would absolutely be pumping. The point I'm trying to make is one important thing we can take from that is that just because a box isn't popular when it first comes out, doesn't mean it's not going to be popular in the long run. If a set has good fundamentals with good chase cards and a strong total set value, it should perform damn well. And that's just what Fusion Strike's doing. It's as simple as that. Now, the second thing we can take from it all, and this is probably the most important thing we can take from the whole Sword and Shield scenario and the current booster box prices, and I'll go over the rest of them shortly, is there was all this skepticism around Sword and Shield and it not going up in price. There was this skepticism around everyone keeping it sealed, everyone hoarding it away, scalpers scalping it and keeping it sealed just to on-sell at a later date, and everyone saying, well, Sun and Moon was the last good era to not be scalped and stashed away, and now it's overprinted and we're never going to see price rises. And there was all these arguments, overprinting to hoarding to everything else in between, scalping, that sealed product was not going to see the gains that we've seen in the past. And hasn't Sword and Shield just proven people wrong? It's even exceeded my expectations massively. And talking about exceeding expectations, the next one I wanted to show you was Evolving Skies. Same thing in the past month, just when you thought it couldn't get any higher, it's gone up another 23% in the last month. It's up to $1,590 a booster box. It won't be far away before Evolving Skies is hitting $2,000 a booster box. In fact, if it's not $2,000 by Christmas time, I'll be extremely surprised. Actually, that's a pretty aggressive one there. I keep thinking we're like in March or something. Does this year just seem to be going super, super quick for everyone, or is it just me? It feels like only yesterday it was Christmas. Anyway, the other one I want to talk about is Brilliant Stars. Look, this Pokemon card set, it's not a thing. This Pokemon card set is starting to get some of the love that it deserves. It's north of $400 a booster box now. It's gained 42% in the past month, as it should have, because it's a better set than people give it credit for. When it first came out of the gate really, really hot. It was actually quite a hard booster box to get in Australia. I don't know about you guys and girls in the US, or maybe anyone else watching from somewhere in Europe or New Zealand, or wherever you might be watching from, but it was quite hard to get in Australia. Prices jumped instantly, unless you got in on a pre-order and could get it for like 210 Australian dollars, which was like 145, 150 US. It went gangbusters not long after, like weeks after release. It was already pushing 300 Australian dollars, which is over 200 US dollars. So it was hard to get unless you pre-ordered it. So Brilliant Stars anyway, 42% up, 400 US dollars. Don't forget, it's the only set with an old art Charizard. The booster box has Charizard on the side of it and Arceus on the front. We've got a beautiful trainer gallery, the first reintroduction to trainer gallery with some evolutions inside there, including Umbreon. It is a better Pokemon card set than the price was giving it credit for, and I think the 43 or 42% jump we've seen in the past month is justified. Lost Origin. The Shinji Kanda led Giratina V Alt Art set. Great set. Nudging $500 US, up 27% in the past month. So we're talking about Sword and Shield sealed pumping. There is not one booster box that hasn't risen in price in the last month. They're all, somewhere in the vicinity of 5% to 45%. And I've picked and chosen some of the best sets out of here. Like, I don't have Darkness Ablaze or Vivid Voltage or Battle Styles on here, but they have also all risen. Lost Origin, up 27% in the last month, nudging $500. Whew. And look, I've said it for a while, that's where I rank them. It's going to be Evolving Skies, Fusion Strike, and then probably Lost Origin. They're going to be the top 3 most expensive booster boxes from the whole Sword and Shield era. And I wouldn't be surprised if Brilliant finishes in number 4. But next on the list, of course, is Astral Radiance. I'm a huge fan of this. It feels like only a month ago when it was like $265 US a booster box, I was saying, it's a good buy. Like, it's still a good buy at $265 US a booster box. Currently now it's up to $329 US a booster box, 22% up in the last month. Another set that's absolutely screaming along. I've said it a few times before if you've watched the channel, it has the second most expensive, so total value out of the trainer gallery. Brilliant Stars has the most expensive trainer gallery. Astral Radiance has the second most expensive trainer gallery. Lost Origin has the third most expensive trainer gallery, and Silver Tempest has the least expensive or weakest trainer gallery when it comes to total set value out of the 4 Sword and Shield main sets, so booster box sets that have trainer galleries. Of course, Crown Zenith has the Galarian gallery in there, which is worth an absolute truckload. But Astral Radiance, $329 US. It is starting to pump. In fact, it's overtaken Silver Tempest at $323 US a booster box. Same thing. A month ago when I was talking about these two sets, they were both bang on $265 US a booster box. Silver Tempest is up 18% in the past month. Is it a boom or bust set? Yeah, well, in some ways it sort of feels like that, doesn't it? Like, unless you pull that beautiful, and I will say that, it is a stunning looking Pokemon card, that Lugia V Alt Art. What a strong card. Look, could they have done more in Silver Tempest? Yes. Could they have added, another couple of nice alternate art Pokemon cards? Yes. The trainer gallery is quite nice, but it is the weakest out of the 4, but it's just good to have that trainer gallery. It adds pull rates to opening the packs. We open Fusion Strike and Evolving Skies and Chilling Reign, and you can open a whole booster box and get next to nothing. It feels just a bit average, whereas when you're opening these trainer gallery booster boxes from Sword and Shield, Lost Origin, Astral Radiance, Silver Tempest, Brilliant Stars, when you're opening them, you feel like you're actually pulling something because you're getting trainer galleries in there. Like, you're guaranteed a certain number of trainer galleries from opening a booster box, which feels nice. But there you have it, hey. Sword and Shield is absolutely pumping, and it just continues to rise. I wouldn't be surprised, like I said towards the start of the video though, if we see these peter off before we see another uptick in price. And before we finish off the video, I just wanted to give a big shout out to today's video sponsor, which is of course the Collector app. Collector is a fantastic app. There'll be a link in the description to download it. You can add in all your singles, all your sealed product. You can track the gains that you're getting from your sealed product inside there. So if you're an investor like myself, it's so easy. Anytime you buy a product or multiple products, just add them straight into the Collector app, click on what price you paid for it, and it'll give you up-to-date gains as things go along. Daily gains for your whole collection. You can see your total collection gains across the lifespan of your collection. It's so good as an investor. Very, very easy app to use. I'm Michael. This is PokeOz. Catch everyone next time.